the cartoon in the aftermath of Cape Town not getting the Olympics, for instance.
Okay. How closely am I going to describe that on air?
Well, you can go as far as you want, really.
Yeah.
But it's the Athens and Mars. I mean, that was so inherently Cape Town. It summed up what everybody was saying at the time.
People are kind of waiting. What the hell is he going to say? And he says, "I didn't know what I was going to say, and then I saw this." And he takes out the Sowetan, and he said, "Athens and Mars and Mur." And that's where I'm like happy that Madiba didn't come from Cape Town, because that's not what we say here. And I can say that on air.
Yes, you can.
I'm really attacking demagogues, the people who are kind of, I feel, are misleading, or people in positions of power, if they are trampling on gender rights, if they're trampling on other rights or reproductive rights or ordinary people's dignity. I don't mind messing with their dignity, the top people, whether they're politicians or corporations or religious leaders. Really, I don't mind, but I don't want to punch down and attack ordinary people. I'm attacking the people who I think are abusing leadership.
I read an article a while ago, and somebody was talking about the guest we have in studio with us, and said he is the nation's storyteller. And I thought that was so profound. He tells stories via pictures and captures moments of our unfolding democracy. Jonathan Shapiro, who goes by the trade name Zapiro, in studio with us. Good morning.
Hi.
Hey, it's been a moment since you and I have had a chat. I mean, I've chatted with him multiple times over the years. You've been very busy of late with an interesting little project.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new one for me. It's not the first time I've ever made T-shirts, but it's the first time I've done something that is part of, I suppose, this great new enthusiasm that there is around rugby and around the sort of connections with rugby and Madiba and all of that. It's a very nice. It's Pick and Pay approached me and asked if I would like to make shirts for initially for Heritage Day, and then it gradually evolved into. We looked at the nicest cartoons that I had that would somehow sort of pull people together. And it really felt like the rugby ones were what is doing the trick at the moment. I mean, unlike kind of in 1995, I always feel that moment was sort of saving us from sort of going over the cliff.
Yes, the doom and gloom at the time,
But I mean, it was a great moment, the winning the World Cup then. But there's something unbelievably powerful about what has happened in the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years around rugby with Siya Kolisi and of course what Rassie Erasmus and Ninaba and all of these people have been doing. It's actually pulled people together in an amazing way.
And it's I was at a talk last night that Dale Steyn, the cricketer, was part of, and somebody had said, what is wrong with South African cricket? And there was a time where the Proteas kind of had that mystique, that aura. SA Rugby was at 6s and 7s. I mean, there was just nothing to write home about. And that Protea fire is gone. And here's this team that is just all conquering, that has managed to galvanize an entire country. There was something magic even around the last World Cup. I mean, it almost felt like, when the World Cup was here, the Soccer World Cup, we had that same thing for a month, almost 2 months actually. Everybody got behind this team. And I suppose those are the moments or the emotions you try and capture in those caricatures or in those pictures.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the cartoons that I've used have gone. I mean, they go back a long time. And the earliest one in this series, there are 5 of them in the series, and the earliest one goes back to 1996. That's it was the year after the World Cup win, and we were doing well in soccer as well. It was the African Cup of Nations.
Yeah, we ended up winning that. Yep.
Yeah, so the thing I thought of back then was nation building is a whole new ball game. that is Madiba with the Y front underpants. I always kind of say that I was sort of like 20 years ahead of Faf on that. Well, Faf's ones were not Y front. I mean that it looks really funny, and some people thought at the time it's a little infra dig. You have these clothes that you can kind of pin on Madiba. In that old style thing, that's what the cartoon, what it looks like. Those those dolls things that you used to cut out with a little tag on them. So that I did him with 3 different sports. So he's just in his Y-front underpants, front and back.
Yeah.
And then you've got these different uniforms. You've got the number 6 jersey from Francois Pinault's number 6 jersey, and you've got the Proteas, you've got the the cricket, and you've got the soccer. Of course, we had a little bit of a blip a few years later with Hansi in the cricket. So just a few years, more of a blip, more than a blip. But yeah, those moments I try to capture, even then. And there's a cartoon from 1999 when we were not doing that brilliantly in the rugby. But the Springbok running like hell with all the other animals jumping in the air and trying to catch him. So I'm trying to capture those moments over 3 decades, but at the moment in this last few years, it really feels like with Russie's vision and with Sia's leadership, it's really pulled people together. When I walk around with with one of these shirts on, or when we do an event with the T-shirts, I mean, there are fans of all ages, of all backgrounds, of all kind of demographics, races, cultures, whatever. It really feels like they've pulled people together.
Not everybody likes you.
Oh no, that's true. I mean, they like me when it comes to rugby.
But I mean, cartoonists. So on the face of it, you sketch cute little things. I mean, I know I'm doing a terrible job of explaining what it is you do. But I mean, the pictures in and of themselves aren't offensive necessarily. But it's
some of them are.
Well, I mean, but more often than not, it's the lens
Yeah.
through which those images are viewed, those pictures are viewed, because it questions people's either sensibility or political comfort, or level of tolerance around BS from people who are in positions of power. I mean, it's not just about cute little paintings. It's the very profound messaging behind those. And that's the trick behind being a successful cartoonist, I'd say.
Well, I mean, you're right. When you use the word comfort, it's I do press people's buttons in their different comfort zones all the time, because cartoons are, I mean, you can be a cartoonist who's out there to kind of just get laughs, and there are some, but many of us who go into this as a sort of life's work are trying to communicate what we see as important things. So you have opinions, and there's that convention that you're able to express those, even if you make people uncomfortable sometimes, and even if you are rude sometimes. The funny thing is that somebody will say to me, "That was a fantastic cartoon, I love it," and then somebody else will look at that cartoon and say, "You really crossed the line." And then 2 weeks later, I do a cartoon about another issue, and the same person who loved the cartoon says that you really crossed the line, and the other one says, "Oh, I love it," because everybody has their kind of ideas and whatever, and I'm trying to really push people to kind of see things in a different way, and for me, the bottom line is that I'm really attacking demagogues, the people who are kind of, I feel, are misleading, or people in positions of power, if they are trampling on gender rights, if they're trampling on other rights or reproductive rights, or ordinary people's dignity. I don't mind messing with their dignity, the top people, whether they're politicians or corporations or religious leaders, really, I don't mind. But I don't want to punch down and attack ordinary people. I'm attacking the people who I think are abusing leadership. But of course, every now and then, I mean, humor is the best tool I have. So sometimes I'm just making people upset, and sometimes I'm making them laugh. But always a surprise or twist. That's what makes a cartoon work.
Absolutely. Do you ever, I mean, you've been telling the story of our unfolding democracy pretty much for as long as we've had it. You've grown with that. Do you ever look back and are almost amazed at your collection of stories over the years? Sometimes we have those reflective moments. You look and say, wow, okay, I captured this, I captured that, I forgot about this one.
I do. I mean, I even had a decade before that. I mean, I've been doing this for, I'm old. I've been doing this for 40 years, so I've been doing it for 40 years. But the first 10 years were as a kind of activist cartoonist. So I've got stuff from that period, for anti-apartheid stuff, and I was in detention without trial. I was arrested a few times. I was running from police and security police, all that sort of stuff. And that's my
For
background.
pictures.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but
when I went into detention, the very first thing that they asked me about was one of the cartoons. They said the cops said to me, "Why do you draw us as pigs?" And I said, "I draw what I see."
Yeah.
And then they put me in solitary. I promise you, that's true. So, but yeah, now the annuals, I'm on number 29. So, your question, I look back and I think that is a nice thing to have. And each year I'm trying to encapsulate something or other about the year. And so the cover and title is like, it's got a sort of, I think I have to give you a sneak preview because as well as the T-shirts, I've just brought out my latest annual. Well, I should take this little, slide that off. Let's have I Got News for You. And it's the new. So there's the,
this is going to be something.
Galloping. And with Cyril trying to sort of sort out all the people behind. You see there's Gayton McKenzie and Helen Ziller. And you see the spear.
Does Gayton McKenzie have his paycheck in his hand? He'd be happy to know he made an appearance.
All fighting and bickering and whatever, as they were doing and as they're still doing within the new. But so this is number 29 of.
Unbelievable.
These are that's the
some images of the ones at the back there. It's incredible.
I can't wait to see that. Really.
There we go. I mean, I love this guy. People are saying, but there's somebody else. I love how he pisses people off. I mean, you've done a good job of that over this, especially government. Nitz goes on to say, absolutely true. Listen, we're hanging with Zapiro. He's got a new annual out. He's also done a collaboration with our good friends at Pick and Pay, a whole series of T-shirts. And we'll keep the conversation going in just a little bit, but I'll tell you what, let's find out from Anika what's clapping in the morning traffic. Right, sitting chatting, we've got the privilege, the pleasure of the company of Zapiro, the country's leading storytelling cartoonist. He's with us. Chances are you're going to pop up in a history exam that the matrics are writing today. I mean, this is part of what's happened in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, one of the nicest things for me is I was at Comic Con last year, and it was fantastic because it happens whenever I see young people and I kind of don't expect them to to really know who I am. Often they don't know what I look like, and then
they know your work.
They look at me and they're like, "Wait a minute, you that guy?" I'm like, I had you my history exam or my art exam, or
economics,
English, other languages. It's one of the nicest things. I have a really strong connection, which is often kind of surprising with young people, and some of them say that they kind of learn things about politics and about what's going on from the cartoons, which is great. Also from the annuals. And a lot of people say to me, "I've got you in my bathroom."
Yeah.
Which I said, great.
Okay.
All right. That's a little weird.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm happy. That's the place where you should be.
So, you look at, and I mean, cartoons used to be the preserve generally of newspapers as far as the media went. I mean, there'd be a section with a cartoon in it every day. There'd be some crossword puzzles, some mind games, whatever. I mean, it was like an activity page in the newspapers. Well, we know where news or the print media are going. I mean, many titles shutting down and just disappearing. Is there the fear that this craft that you do that is consumed ideally on a daily basis is maybe a little bit lost in translation in the online space? Has it morphed perfectly there, do you think?
It's not exactly the same. The one thing that in the same way that people have predicting the end of print and the end of the book and the end of, things have they change and they maybe go down in numbers, but then they have like a resurgence. For a while people thought there are going to be no books left. Of course that hasn't happened. There's been a resurgence of books and reading, but things shift and change, and now there's a hell of a lot online. One of the things that has changed is that I feel like there were cartoons that I could do occasionally that were like the things that people call memes, or like those very, very quick little jokes that people do. And I used to occasionally do cartoons like that, but that is so fast online that in a way, I can't compete with those.
Yeah.
I've got to do something else. But actually, I've found ways to incorporate some of those things into cartoons as long as I'm using my craft. So the shirt that I'm wearing was one of the series, the rugby series. Green is the new black.
Yeah.
So I heard somebody say that on the radio, and that's one of those little kind of meme things.
It wasn't me.
No, no, it was a listener. It was just a listener on a like a random station, and I looked it up. I always look up, see, am I plagiarizing something? Am I, where does this come from? Could not find the origin of it, but I thought that is a beautiful thing to say about the Springboks. Like, we've taken over from the All Blacks, and so I crafted the cartoon around that. Green is the new black. I thought, well, we're on top of the world, so you see the Springbok on top of the rugby ball, which is like the world, and the All Black is underneath it, and we've got all these cups, and at that stage we didn't have the rugby championship yet, but we had the 2 World Cups, and we had the Freedom Cup, and we had all that stuff. So, and then the Kiwi is looking pretty kind of down and out, but so things have shifted, but you just have to kind of shift with the times. So there's I can't do those kind of mean things, but I can incorporate those things into cartoons that I do.
But
so, you change and you adapt.
But are you a bit afraid about what happens in the online space, and that your work could essentially be out there and have a life of its own?
Yes. The simple answer, yes. The more nuanced answer is that with the kind of echo chambers that you get in social media now, where people sort of corral a certain way of thinking into the groups that they are part of, and you find people thinking in a certain way in a little pocket here and another pocket
and
there,
then your
and another
work can
pocket
be
there.
interpreted to suit that agenda.
And people can take things out of context. So sometimes they'll take part of a cartoon, or they'll take one cartoon to a group of people who don't really know my work, and they'll say, this guy's racist, or this guy is sexist, or this guy's this or that, and they do it to me and to everybody else. That's what happens. So it's the social media and the way things spread around has got its upside and it's got its downside. That's the downside for me. That things, they're out of context.
Yeah.
Can you explain my shirt, please?
Yeah, that the shirt that you've got it's a black shirt, and there's a yellow strip with a nice sort of ragged edge, and on it there's 5 little. How many have I got there? 5 Madibas dancing, and you see him doing that Madiba dance, which I started doing back in around about 1994 when he'd been doing it for a year or two, and I thought at the end of 94 I kind of really started to figure out how to draw him doing that jive. So that drawing was done in about 2000. No, it was done in about 98, I think.
Oh wow!
That first one of him dancing, and then I decided in around 2008 I made the series, which I put in the front of of a big collection on Madiba, and so the series shows him, as he goes up, and then he goes down, and then he lifts his arms the other way, and then he does that, so that you've got that series of the Madiba jive.
So it's almost like a sequenced dance that you're seeing unfold.
And we did a limited animation of that, where all you do, you don't have to have like all those little in-between animations. You literally just have you put that together with the movement like this, and it looks like it's moving. So a friend of mine did that. I actually tried to get that into the Glen Eagles the 46664 concert, but there were some sort of stuffed shirts there who kind of they were just scared about the rights, and I said, but it's my cartoons, I'm giving it, and instead they had this horrible kind of bronze statue thing of Madiba, which I don't think anyone really liked. But and people, it got close. They were discussing it at Glen Eagles, and they was like, in Scotland, were they going to have this big thing on the screen doing this jive? Oh my God, that's one big missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I'd love to have seen that.
I suppose people at the time would have related to Madiba as august. and
No.
reverent.
Only the stuffed shirts did.
Yeah.
Everybody else like that.
I mean, that's the way it goes. Just very quickly, talk us through the creative process. I mean, how do you decide? Because some of those moments that you've captured have almost defined a generation. And for it to have that kind of impact, and lots of people on the WhatsApp line referencing the cartoon in the aftermath of Cape Town not getting the Olympics, for instance.
Okay. How closely am I going to describe that on air?
Well, you can go as far as you want, really.
Yeah.
But it's the Athens and Massa. I mean, that was so inherently Cape Town. It summed up what everybody was saying at the time.
Yeah.
But it's the thing that ended up being in people's mouths.
Yeah.
as
In
a
Cape
result-
Town, it was certainly the most popular cartoon that
Yes.
I'd ever done, and possibly still is. And there were people who had like this thing on their fridge for like 2 decades. It was this sort of falling apart piece of newspaper that they'd cut out. And because what happened was in 1997, Cape Town tried to get the Olympics for 2004. And I remember, I think I was naive. I thought, that would be great.
I think we all were.
I mean, can you imagine us trying to, in 2010 we got the World Cup soccer, one sport, in all around the country, and we had to make new stadiums and a little bit of corruption here, but all that stuff. But we did a good job. But in 2004 we would not have been ready for the Olympics. I mean, you look at what every city that's had the Olympics. It's a huge, very difficult thing. And we've got other problems to deal with. Anyway, I thought maybe we'd get it. There was that big party at the parade when the announcement was going to happen. And there were these massive speakers and people were kind of jawling around. I went down to the parade and it was kind of evening. It was dusk. And then the announcement comes on from Switzerland and they said, and some sort of foreign accent, I can't remember, was it? So I kind of
Juan Antonio Samaranch.
Was it
the
Samaranch?
IOC? Yes.
Oh, okay. Well done. Thank you.
I was there when you made the announcement. I was in Switzerland. I saw it. I, for years, have been saying, you stole the words that came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
As soon as Juan Antonio Samaranch,
Oh, well, that's brilliant.
in the Palais de Bouillon in Lausanne in Switzerland, as soon as he said it,
Yeah, the whole
my
city will
immediate... The city is Athens. If you go back and have a listen, the city is Athens. I said exactly those words.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then you put it in a cartoon.
Well, what happened was I'm at the parade, and like there's a sort of like stunned silence, and there's sort of a little buzz around, and then a friend next to me, it was actually Tony Weaver, who's a journalist as well. So Tony started laughing. I said, "What's so funny?" He said, "That guy over there said Athens and Massa." And Tony said, "There's your." Well, I laughed, and then he said, "There's your cartoon." So I said, "I love it, but how am I going to use that in a cartoon?"
Yeah.
It seriously took me about 2-3 days. I actually was away for the weekend. I had some references for the Olympics. I was trying to figure out what to do. I kept drawing the crowd and then this one voice out of the crowd, and it just didn't work. And then I took everybody away, and I just had this one guy like sitting there, a little passion gap, and standing there with a poster and the sort of remains of the party. And then just when he says Athens and Massa, and then there's all the asterisks. Yes. And then I sent the rough through to the Sowetan. In those days I faxed the rough. Yes. Sent it through to the Sowetan. And they said, "Oh, no, we can't publish this." So I said, "No, but I won't write out the words. Yes. It's just like in people's minds." Like, it was, and I wrote there, "All dialogue genuinely overheard."
Yeah.
And I said, that's the way, like he represents us. He represents Cape Town. He represents South Africa. The sort of, we thought the Madiba magic was going to work, and it kind of didn't. And in this instance, and then eventually I persuaded them. So we published it. It went pretty huge in Joburg. Yeah. Then it's published in the Argus again, and it went nuts. Then Madiba came back so I didn't know you were there in Lausanne with Madiba. So when the whole delegation, so Aiden and Madiba come back from...
In fact, he wasn't... So the way it worked, world leaders are not allowed in the venue when the announcement was made. So he was in the air. He'd already left Switzerland, yeah.
So he arrives at Parliament, And now he's going to kind of explain to everyone. I don't know if you know this, but so he arrives in Parliament, and then he goes in, and people are kind of waiting. What the hell is he going to say? And he says, "I didn't know what I was going to say, and then I saw this." And he takes out the Sowetan, and he said, "Aten Sema Semur." And that's where I'm like happy that Madiba didn't come from Cape Town, because that's not what we say here. And I can say that on air.
Yes, you can.
Oh, that is mad. That's an absolutely gem of a story. Listen, we are sadly out of time. We could go on for hours, multiple hours, but it's been really incredible just climbing into your mind, understanding just the process, but at the same time, just reliving some highlights that stand out, that are part of this T-shirt range that we can now all own. You know, I mean, and people can wear and outwardly support just the ethos of what this is about.
Yeah, it's nice to be part of something supportive for a
For a
change,
change.
instead of like
For
tearing
sure.
everything down.
Controversial,
So the shirts will be around at Pick and Pay Clothing, and I mean, I'm really happy with the ones that they produce and the colors and all that. So I'm very happy with, and I've signed many of them when I do a sort of a session there. And then of course, so that's happening. And then of course,
your book.
there's
The new
Have I Got
collection
News for You?
Mm-hmm.
It's my Jacana, my publishers, and that's in the shops now, and I'll be doing signings here and there. People can see on social media whether I'll be doing anything for T-shirts or the annuals.
Did you sign that one?
I will sign that for
Please.
yes.
Say to Heartbreak first.
Heartbreak.
Yes.
Sure.
I
Okay.
can't wait for the box to play so I can wear this T-shirt, because it's such a cool, so unconventional. I think I'm going to get lots of attention with this T-shirt. Love it.
You get lots of attention anyway.
No.
Come on.
No.
Call it for what it is.
And this cartoon was published in '99. I think it's such an awesome foreshadowing situation. I think it's really, really cool.
Great. This one's 2024, and there's one from 2023. That was 1999. There's one from 1996, and then there's
A whole
that
collection.
one is a sort of
is a
mashup
special.
of 98 and 2008. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's almost a quick flip through just the incredible career of one Jonathan Shapiro, aka Zapiro. That's the way we know him. That's the way we love him. And I mean, he's a largely anonymous figure. Lives large in the country's consciousness, but you get to walk in supermarkets and stuff. Nobody stops you. Nobody even knows who you are.
It depends.
Well,
Sometimes, I never know when it's going to happen.
yeah.
I get stopped in the weirdest places, but I can also sometimes be incognito for long periods.
that's it. No, beautiful. Well, listen, thanks so much for coming to spend some time with us this morning here at our breakfast.
Great.
Top
Thank
class.
You. Thanks very much.
Lovely stuff. All right,
Thank
you can check it out. You heard him there, available. Pick up by clothing around the country. If you want to own a chunk of it, you're more than welcome. They can buy as many as you want.
Amazon.co.za